For the last 30 years, religion has exploded as a powerful political force.
Our politicians need to be men and women who take their faith into the halls of Congress, into the voting booth.
His Liberty University, which now has 10,000 students.
We're trying to raise up a generation of young people who will confront the culture.
Not the church, not the state.
Issues would be cast in moral terms. Faith and politics would become inseparable. In 2006, John McCain delivered the commencement address. In 2007, it was Newt Gingrich. In other words, all sorts of compromise is possible in a presidential season where none among the current field of Republican candidates has excited the conservative Christian base of the party. For you in this next election, correct me if I'm wrong, it's security rather than the social issues that you care so deeply about.
We'd love to get in one package a man, a woman who's strong on security and right on the social issues. We've got to find the person closest to where we are.
And Falwell continued to connect liberal beliefs to Islamic terrorism, such as blaming the attacks of September 11th on the prevalence of abortion in America. You basically said that the Lord was removing his protection from America.
I still believe that.
A month before Falwell died, the Supreme Court, on a 5-4 vote, did put an end to one practice called partial birth abortion. This is the first class of lawyers to emerge from Liberty University's new law school.
And they say, because it's on the currency, there's nothing wrong with it being in the schools or in the courthouses or in the Capitol.
You are able to practice freely, you're able to worship, you're able to follow the faith as you see it.
It's not that way everywhere, and we're not oblivious to that. And it's not that it's already happened, it's just like small things lead up to bigger things.
Once you realize that is the way, you are God's warrior regardless. And so it's just whether you're going to pick up your sword and go for it or not.
It's impossible for a fundamentalist to admit that he is ever wrong, because he would be admitting that God was wrong.
Many evangelicals who supported this committed Christian Democrat in 1976 switched to the not-so-church-going Republican Ronald Reagan 4 years later.
Congratulations, sir.
Many had been swayed by Jerry Falwell and his moral indictment of American culture. Especially troublesome to the president, an amendment in 2000 to the group's statement of beliefs on the role of women. From now on, like Muslims and Orthodox Jews, Southern Baptists would restrict the role of women.
Women must be submissive to their husbands, and that no woman can be a leader in the church as a pastor or a deacon in the church, and that women are precluded from instructing men.
The sleeping giant of Christian Zionism has awakened.
A Christian Zionist is someone that believes that the Bible supports Israel.
There are voices in the State Department calling for the city of Jerusalem to be divided, to make way for a Palestinian capital. Let us make this clear. There shall be one Jerusalem that shall never be divided, not now and not ever.
In his scenario, Russia and its Arab allies invade Israel. The Antichrist appears as the head of the European Union. Armies mass, and there's a final battle at Armageddon, resulting in a sea of human blood. Before Jesus returns to slay non-believers and reign over an era of peace.
Israel lives! Israel lives! Israel lives!
We have the freedom to vote our conscience, and we will, by the millions.
This is the way it's always been in America. You come along with your secular agenda. You're the ones trying to put your values on America, not me. Our values are native here. It's yours that are foreign. You're the illegal alien here, not me.
The conservative Christians in the 80s, prior to Robertson, were voting Republican in the general election, but they weren't really involved in the machinery of the Republican Party.
Here, she's getting a reality check from Republican leader Richard DeBolt.
You're not stopping anything this year. I mean...
Okay, so there's no chance?
No. Their train is running. They have their agenda. They've kind of focused in on what they're going to do. They're not really open to moderating that at all.
And so we need to take great care not to naively think that we can translate our particular value into a particular vote. Don't label your way of voting Christian. And there's patriotic music playing and a flag waving in the background. It showed a silhouette of 3 crosses. And 4 fighter jets came down over the crosses and split with a flag waving in the background. And there were some people who stood up, they were ecstatic. And I started crying.
Darwinism became, it was no longer just a scientific hypothesis. It became a symbol of everything that was wrong.
Historically, evangelicals have reasoned like this. Scientists believe in evolution. Scientists are telling us climate change is real. Therefore, I won't believe what scientists are saying.
And when you look at who's promoting it, the United Nations, no friend of the U.S. in most cases, and liberal clergymen, and some evangelicals who are uninformed.
When has evangelical been defined by a political term or an economic term? It's primarily a theological term.
We call them terrorists, virtue terrorists, that are destroying our kids.
Virtue terrorists.
They're raping virgin teenage America on the sidewalk, and everybody's walking by and acting like everything's okay, and it's just not okay.
Its program is fiercely anti-woman, anti-gay, pro-war, and pro-obedience.
You could say it's divisive. Well, maybe it needs to be divisive.
When I, read that women have to wear skirts of a certain length and guys aren't allowed to, go on the internet unsupervised, I think, totalitarian regimes.
No, it's about learning to have disciplines that communicate purity. The skirt's length are to keep guys from, any man on the planet can be distracted, and we don't want to unintentionally create distraction.
But Ron, that's what the Taliban said. They kept women in their house because men couldn't be trusted around them.
Well, there's extremists. You came to our campus, they did, your team did. They could see that we're not extremists.
I want something so real, it eats away at every part of my life. It kills my passion for God.
Jump to your feet and scream as loud as you can, I want the cross!
Alone and singing to herself, as if she were in a trance.
Who are you singing to?
The Lord. I'm just worshiping God. This ministry changed my life.
There are millions of people who feel their faith is being ignored, has been pushed aside, and who are certain they know how to make the world right.